Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Snicky Heavy here, and welcome to the music studio. This is where I make pretty much all my tracks, my DJ mixes, and everything else. Yeah, thought I'd do something a bit different today. Quite a few of you were asking how I made the Ghost Times EP. Quite enjoyed the darkness and all the different sounds that I made. I thought I'd do a little kind of run through. I don't know how quick it's going to be. Hopefully not too in depth. It's not going to scare you, but yeah, let's see what we can do. I'm just going to quickly share with you my music studio screen. So hopefully you should be able to see uh, what can only be described as chaos, and you might be able to hear in the background the Dark Times track playing. So just to quickly start off, this is the software I use. It's called FL Studio, and there's quite a lot happening, as you can see on screen. Let's start off at the top here, I guess. So we've got the timer, which is how long the track's going on for. We've got these moving bars here, which is kind of like our volume. And then I kind of hover around 170. This is the BPM, so beats per minute. And that's kind of it in a nutshell up there. Then we've got the main area, which is where all of the sounds are that you're hearing at the moment. So if I scroll down, you should be able to see quite a lot of rows of things happening, and these are called tracks in FL Studio. You can see in this one we've got 46 tracks. That's quite a lot for me. Sometimes it's between 20 odd tracks, but you can see we've got all kinds of things going on. We've got these sound clips going on. We've got volume bars. We've got sort of step sequences going on, and it's kind of like all the tracks are make a kind of this combination of all these different sounds. That's kind of where all of the tracks and music gets put into. And on the left here we have all of the sort of folders. You can see loads of sound packs, loads of drum kits and effects that I use to make my tracks. So how did we get going with Dark Times? Well, let me stop the music, and we can just sort of do it layer by layer, line by line, if you will. And we're going to start off with this top line. So you can see there's a bit of a gap here to where this first sound comes in. So I'm just going to hop along to there, and then I'm just going to isolate this sound so you can see what it is. So that's the kind of the industrial synth that you can hear that kicks in about 40 seconds into the track. And it's actually a sort of a synth that's quite probably well known with the music producers who use FL Studio. It's called Citrus or Citrus, and this synth is called Formant. So I'm just gonna got my keyboard here, so I'm just gonna press the F key. So you can hear that it's actually quite fast, and it doesn't sound anything. It sounds very kind of similar to this synth in the track, but it's a bit faster. So I thought, well, what happens if I slow the tempo right down? So if I slow this BPM right down to half the time, so it was at 170 to begin with. So if I do it to 85, there we go, and then I press the F key. So there you go, and that's what I did. So what I did was I recorded that at 85 BPM, and that's what this is. This is like the sound wave of that recording, and then I put it back in this project. So if I ramp it up to 170 again, because if I play that back at 85, it's going to sound even half the speed. So there you go, and that's how I made it. So these other two bars here, these are the kind of filters. So if I just highlight this particular section so you can hear how filters affect the sound. So you can see it kind of goes up and down, and it changes the frequency of which the sound is playing back at. So the higher it goes, it removes more of the bassier sounds, the lower sounds. So you can see as it's coming back down. So bassy, then it goes less bassy, then bassy again. So that's that. I'll just delete those points. And then this is just the volume. So you can see the volume stays pretty much the same. But if I move it along a little bit here, you can hear how it gets quieter and quieter along with the filter. Yeah, that's how that is. So the industrial synth, there you go. That's how that was made. So let's move on to this, the intro synth. I'm just going to isolate that. Goodness, I've put quite a few effects on this. Okay, so here's the intro synth that you may recognize. So what I did for that, there's another kind of synthesizer that I use called FM8. So if I open that up, you can hear it's the Anastasia synth. So if I press F on my keyboard, just hopefully hear it. So I kind of did a few modifications to this effect, but it kind of is almost already made really for the track, but I wanted to modify it a little bit. So in here we have effects, and there's all kinds of effects that you can put in, and I wanted to sort of progress that synth as the track went on. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different effects that I've put onto that one synth. So you can see, or you can have a listen in and see how it changes with each of these as we go through. So you can probably hear it getting a little bit more aggressive as as that little sequence just played, and that's this overdrive it's called. So I basically took the dial that's used to turn up the overdrive and put it into it's called an automation clip. So you can see it's going up and up and up, and that's when it got more aggressive. But there's also an on-off switch that I did here. So if I go back to before this on-off switch, it sounds very much like what you've just had on the keyboard a second ago. Whoops. So as it is out the box, off the shelf as it were. And we get to here, you can hear it change. Okay, and then you'll see we have another sort of step here. This is the TW, which if I go back into the synthesizer here, you can see it's called Talk Wah. I guess that's how you say it. And that kind of adds this sort of digital vocal wah effect onto it. So let's see how that changes. You can also see that we've got another, the Talk Wah TW mouth sort of rising up here. So let's see how that changes as we progress. So there you go. Those are kind of all of the effects that I've put onto this FM8 synthesizer. Again, there's another filter on there which removes the bass as we get towards it. So you can hear it's kind of the bass is going. There you go, ready for the drop. Okay, so that was quite a lot of effects that I put onto one synth there, but I think it helps it sort of move as the track goes on. And then we will come to the next bit here, which is that low kind of bass synth, I guess you call it, that I've used. Let's have a quick listen of that. So if I go back into our old, I'll double click that, it should just open it for me. So we've got another synth here called Sora, which again, it's another sort of similar kind of look, but a different interface as it were. So you've got the keyboard at the bottom here. And then all of these are kind of little effects that I modified from original preset called Hum and Bass. Genius. Yeah, pretty much it. So I just recorded myself holding down that note, and what we did was put a couple of automation clips on there. So we have our filter, and we also have what's called panning. So you may have noticed it switched from left side to right side a little bit as we were playing. So now it's going to the right side, and then it comes back into the middle, into the left. And that's what that is. So panning from right to left, just to give it a bit of width to the sound. Yeah, I just thought that'd be cool to add a bit more atmosphere to the intro. And I think that's pretty much most of it in the intro bit. And we've got some sound effects here. These are mostly just from one of these sample sound packs that I've sort of talked about earlier on the left here. And those are kind of, that's the intro really. Now when it comes to the drum beat, which is here, you can see that I've got a couple of different instruments here. So I've got kick, the snare, another snare, some percussion, more percussion, and we've got sort of the hi-hats and things going on here. So if I isolate those so you can hear what's going on. Which I think should take us all the way down to here. Let's see what that sounds like. All right, so quickly chat about the instruments. So if I go back into my little signature here on the sides, see I've got the kick, which I modified a little bit just to make it a bit more punchy. And then we've got the ride, which I think comes in after that bit. So you can just about make it out. And then we have another bass, which is sort of the filtering. So I've removed the lower part of the kick, so it's kind of a bit more of a distant backgroundy sound. Snare 1, snare 2, which is again the sort of the bass has been filtered out for that effect. The other snare, which gives it a bit more oomph, and then the that snare filtered a little bit with the bass out there as well. Percussion wise, the little old bicycle ding ding, I thought that'd be quite cool just to put in there with a bit of sort of delay kind of echo effect. Then the shaker. Oh, that's the bicycle bell. So I've got 2 bicycle bells, there you go. There's some hi-hats here, some more hi-hats with a bit of effects on them. And I think that's it really. Yeah, they've got the ride as well. So yeah, there's all sorts of stuff going on with the percussions, but I try to again progress them as I go through the track, so you can hear it as it changes. Yeah, what else have we got here? So yeah, that's the sort of filtered drum pattern going on. Yeah, that's the drum beats. Then we've got the middle melody, as I call it. So let's see what that sounds like. So yeah, you can see it's kind of this dreamy sort of distant synthesizer sound that I kind of wanted, and that's courtesy of one called Toxic Biohazard. A few modifications done to the synth, and kind of really wanted to get that distant feeling across, and rather than just being a purely dark atmospheric track, this is kind of the guy who's lost wandering around, and this synth kind of did it for me really, just gave me the atmosphere I wanted, and broke up the tune quite nicely. So again, you can see I've got the notes here, and then this is the filter sequence, so you could hear it kind of fading away into the background as the main track came back. And then finally, the rest of this stuff is all the effects I've used. So let me just isolate all of these. That's the master volume. So yeah, just kind of all of the rises for the effects, the dramatic drop sounds. Some of these have been modified as well, so these have been slowed down originally from the original file. Yeah, they're just sort of crashes, whooshes, you know, that kind of stuff, and I think some of them are boom, you know, that kind of reverb kick effect. And that's pretty much it. That's the making of Dark Times. So yeah, can let it play out for the rest of the video and let you guys enjoy yourselves. So hopefully you found that quite entertaining, or you know, a little bit of a deeper dive into how I made Dark Times. If you want me to do, I can also do the Ghost of Snare track as well, or any other track you wanted to hear from me, how I made it. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and catch you all soon.